Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Hello, everyone. First thing I want to do right now is give a shout out to Rabbit from the YouTube channel Down the Rabbit Hole for giving me credit for a video I did calling out Heights Funeral Home. Imagine my surprise when all of a sudden my Amanda Rabb video started getting views out of nowhere. Finally. And people actually found the information to be just as disturbing as I did. Now, I haven't been looking into the Amanda Rabb case for very long at all. And I'm very happy that my curiosity about what was going on with Bam Margera led me to this case. So thank you, Rabbit, and to all of Rabbit's subscribers who came to check me out. Thank you to all of BJ's subscribers for coming here and checking out my videos. BJ, of course, from That Surprise Witness and BJ Investigates, who is the person who blew this up and led me to start doing my own little investigation. So thank you guys for checking out my videos. If you subscribe to me, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. I had a chance to watch Rabbit's video. It was a live, but I watched it probably about a week later. And someone brought up the funeral, which led to the question of, was Heights Funeral Home the funeral home that cremated Amanda? Now, if you haven't seen that video at all, I will put it up right here. I'll also have it linked in the end screen and in the description box below. It never stood out to me as interesting that Lima would have been giving a eulogy in California, where Amanda was actually from. But I didn't notice the name on the ashes that Larry Rabb was holding in the video where they did their tribute on the beach. And I didn't even think to look. So kudos to whoever noticed that. The box of ashes that Larry was holding said Memory Garden Memorial Park and Mortuary, leading to the biggest question I have now, which is, was Amanda Rabb cremated at Heights or was she cremated at Memory Garden? Because at some point, Amanda Rabb would have been transferred from Nevada back to California, right? But was it before or after she had been cremated is the question. Hopefully, her body was transferred to Memory Garden Funeral Home in California, where she was ID'd by Larry Rabb and then cremated. That would definitely answer the question of, was that even Amanda Rabb's cremains? It still does not excuse Heights' behavior, and I'm glad that I called them out because that's what I like to do. Call out corruption. If you don't know who Rabbit is, her channel will be listed in the description box below. She digs into a lot of stuff that I know anyone who is subscribed to me would be very interested in. So please go check her out, Down the Rabbit Hole. Again, link will be in the description box below. At the moment, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be doing much more digging into this case, but I will for sure be making a conclusion of opinion video after this one, just to sum up what I've learned from my research and also to give my opinion as a whole on everything that we have thoroughly gone over these last couple of months. My deep dives are not as much entertaining you with a story as they are going over facts and data in order to come up with the best unprofessional conclusion, right? So not every case that I cover goes over this much data, but the deep dives always do, because in my opinion, it is extremely important to know the facts in order to know who to hold accountable so that justice can be served. So let's talk about Desert Hope Treatment Center for a bit. And when I say a bit, I mean a while. So if you haven't already, grab a drink, grab a snack, buckle up. It's going to be a long and a bit bumpy ride. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not new here, but you have not watched my last couple of videos on Amanda Rabb, I'm going to put the playlist up right here. I will also put the links for them in the description box below so that they're easy to access. I'm not going to do a full background on Desert Hope Treatment Center. I just don't feel like it's necessary. You know, like when they became a rehab and all of that. I'm just going to be pointing out that they are part of American Addiction Centers, which Lima has connections to, which is probably how she was able, in my opinion, to get Amanda into this facility when the original facility in California was kicking her out due to lack of payment. So we're not going to go all the way back to the rehab's history. Right now, I'm just going to take it back to September of 2018, when Desert Hope Treatment Center was sued in the wrongful death of 33-year-old April Leeming from Arizona. The lawsuit alleges Desert Hope promoted and represented itself as having, quote, medical monitoring 24/7 by a licensed medical team of physicians, nurses, and support staff, knowledgeable on detox and withdrawal from different drugs, unquote. Upon admittance, April disclosed her medical history. The facility staff performed an alcohol screening that determined April had a blood alcohol content of 0.257. She underwent a withdrawal assessment where staff observed and recorded her symptoms, including her inability to walk, requiring a wheelchair, severe tremors, nausea with vomiting, auditory and visual disturbance, disorientation as to time and place, elevated vital signs, dilated pupils, significant pain, and delirium tremens. Now, delirium tremens, commonly called DTs in the world of alcohol addiction, is the most severe form of ethanol withdrawal, manifested by altered mental status and sympathetic overdrive, which can progress to cardiovascular collapse. Minor alcohol withdrawal is characterized by tremor, anxiety, nausea, vomiting, and insomnia. Trigger warning. Okay, all of my videos have trigger warnings. We're talking about addiction here, and we're talking about loss of life because of it. So I do want to make sure that you understand that there will be sensitive things discussed within this video. Major alcohol withdrawal signs and symptoms include visual hallucinations and auditory hallucinations, whole body tremor, vomiting, diaphoresis, and hypertension. Now, diaphoresis is excessive sweating for anyone who doesn't know what that is. The signs and symptoms of delirium tremens can include all of these symptoms that I just listed. However, with delirium tremens, a person can also develop withdrawal seizures, agitation, global confusion, disorientation, hallucinations, fever, hypertension, diaphoresis, autonomic hyperactivity, also known as tachycardia with hypertension, and profound global confusion. Those are the hallmarks of DTs. When someone is experiencing all of these symptoms, they need to be monitored very carefully. Alcohol withdrawals are one of the only withdrawals that can actually kill. A person suffering from delirium tremens needs supportive therapy, such as in a calm, quiet, well-lit environment, reassurance, ongoing reassessments, special attention to fluids and electrolyte deficits, and treatment of any coexisting conditions. They may need to be treated with medications or supplementations such as thiamine, magnesium, benzodiazepines, and even at times intravenous ethanol infusions, though those are not really recommended anymore. Many patients that are suffering from acute alcohol withdrawal with delirium tremens need things to keep their heart from pounding out of their chest. They may need things to calm them down if they're having hallucinations. They may be severely depleted of essential vitamins, as many alcoholics are deficient in magnesium, making them more prone to hyperkalemia and cardiac dysrhythmias. There are, of course, other things, but we do need to move on. The point is, detoxing someone from alcohol is a very complex and sometimes dangerous task. As I said, people can die from fatal cardiac arrhythmias during the detox process from alcohol or ethanol, to be more precise. Risk factors for DTs can be somewhat inconsistent. Anyone can pretty much develop these, but it's more commonly seen on daily, heavy, and prolonged ethanol consumption. But again, not always, which is why if you're going to detox someone from alcohol, you need to be prepared for possible DTs. This is why many people who are serious about getting sober from alcohol check themselves into a detox center specifically, where they can be medically monitored 24/7 to make sure that they survive the detox process. The current mortality rate for patients with DTs ranges from 5 to 15%, but it should be closer to 5%, considering we have modern-day ICU management. Back in the day, the mortality rate was as high as 35% before intensive care units were around and before advanced pharmacotherapy. The most common conditions leading to death in patients with DTs are respiratory failure and cardiac arrhythmias. Patients that are at great risk for death are those with an extreme fever, fluid and electrolyte imbalance, or intercurrent illness such as pneumonia, hepatitis, pancreatitis, and alcoholic ketoacidosis. Delirium tremens usually start about 2 to 3 days after someone who is severely dependent on alcohol ends a very long drinking binge. But, like I said, it doesn't always have to be that long. It's all how the body metabolizes alcohol. Body type, weight, things like that all play a role. Delirium tremens usually last for 2 to 3 days as well, but symptoms can stick around for as long as a week. And as I said before, if left untreated, delirium tremens can cause heart attack, stroke, and ultimately death. The reason for this is that alcohol is a depressant, right? It slows your brain and nervous system. When you suddenly stop drinking after a long period of alcohol use, your brain and nervous system cannot adjust quickly. Your brain gets very overstimulated. People with alcohol use disorder who suddenly stopped drinking may also have a spike in amino acid called glutamate that causes some symptoms common in delirium tremens, like the sudden extreme high blood pressure, tremors, severe excitability, and seizures. It is also possible to experience a mild form of DTs after a weekend of binge drinking as well, which is why I said that anyone that comes to a place in alcohol withdrawal needs to be closely monitored. Binge drinkers have a much higher mortality rate, and many of them don't even realize it. You can think of college kids at a university. They're sober most of the time at college, but maybe after finals, they go out on a little mini bender to celebrate, and there are always a few that end up with alcohol poisoning, and some even die. The staff at Desert Hope Treatment Center recorded that April was in fact suffering from delirium tremens. So what were they doing to treat April to get her safely through the severe ethanol detox process that was wreaking havoc on her body and her mind? Well, let's take a look at the complaint. Because just 17 hours after being admitted to Desert Hope Treatment Center, April Leeming was pronounced dead. What could have possibly gone wrong in a facility that was equipped with the best people to handle this type of medical detox process? I mean, that's what they said, right? That's what this lawsuit alleges they said. It's also what their website still says to this day as well. Let's go over the official court document, the key pieces of it. After that, we're going to go over complaints and reviews and see what people who went to Desert Hope Treatment Center had to say about their experience. We can also hear some complaints from former employees as well. Looking at this document over here on the left-hand side, we have the plaintiffs, which in this case would be Joanne Leeming, who is April's mother, and the defendants, who are American Addiction Centers, Inc., in specific Desert Hope Treatment Center, as well as the doctor who was the treating doctor at the time that April Leeming was in the facility. And this would be Dr. Praveen Saran, MD. To be fair, I want to say first and foremost, I did look up this doctor. He is still practicing and has multiple, beyond multiple, I'm talking thousands of 5-star reviews. But because I don't want this video to drag, we're just going to go over what I've highlighted because we have a lot to get into in this video and a lot to go over. But I did want to say, according to the internet, this doctor is reputable. So what happened here, I don't know. But let's just move on and get into this. The general allegations listed are that on September 20th of 2018, April Leeming died while she was admitted as a client of a residential drug treatment business operated by American Addiction Centers, Inc., Concord Treatment Center, LLC, and the exact facility was Desert Hope Addiction Treatment Center. It lists the treatment center at 2465 East Twain Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. So we know we're talking about the same place that Amanda Rabb attended. The decedent, April Leeming, was a client at Desert Hope in Clark County, Nevada at the time of her death, which is what gives rise to this lawsuit. It goes on to say the plaintiff, Joanne Leeming, is the sole surviving heir and mother of April Leeming and is the successor in interest of the estate of April Leeming. It also states April Leeming would have been the plaintiff in this action had she lived. Ouch. These court documents are available to the public. I just want to say, if you guys want to see the entire thing, I will link it in the description box below, because just like the other reports, we're just going to go through what I have highlighted to be important to point out. Now, this court document, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand all of this. BJ, if you're watching this and you understand this part, which you probably do, considering that you are a lawyer, I don't get it. But it says over here, number 12, at the end, it says, plaintiff further alleges upon information and belief that the defendants, and each of them, including DOE offendants, or Doe offendants, like John Doe, Jane Doe, is that what that means? Were the alter egos of each of the other defendants named herein. Like, I only know what I think that means, because going down to section 13, it says AAC defendants and each of them, including Doe defendants, acted in concert and with such a unity of interest and control that their separate corporate identities are a sham and should be disregarded, and each should be held legally responsible for the conduct of others. So the only thing I think of when I read this is just that they're shady, they're hiding their identities, or they're using multiple identities, something like that. So if anyone knows anything about that, feel free to comment that, email me, whatever, because I would just like to know what a professional thinks about that. Okay, moving on to the factual allegations. It says, AAC defendants made representations to prospective clients and their families, including April Leeming and her family, that AAC defendants were capable of safely and properly taking care of her medical and physiological conditions when such statements were in fact false. So basically, that means they false represented themselves as a medical facility that could safely detox April Leeming from alcohol, but in actuality, they could not. Prior to September 20th, 2018, and continuing until after April Leeming's death on September 20th of 2018, AAC defendants engaged in a practice of falsely marketing, promoting, and advertising, representing that their program had a medical staff with physicians on site and that they provided 24/7 medical supervision. Such marketing and advertising was and continues to be conducted nationwide by the AAC defendants. Such marketing, promoting, and advertising was and continues to be false, misleading, and deceptive. AAC defendant knew that individuals suffering from addiction problems were often assisted by and relied upon family members to help them in making decisions and gaining admission into detoxification programs. AAC defendants therefore directed marketing efforts to the family and loved ones of those suffering from addiction problems and sought their direct assistance in obtaining agreement by addicted family members to enter the AAC defendants' non-medical residential drug rehab program. April Leeming and plaintiff Joanne Leeming detrimentally relied upon the false representation made by AAC defendants, which included the representation that they, AAC defendants, would provide a safe place for April Leeming to undergo detoxification. Prior to the death of April Leeming, AAC defendants, their officers, managing directors, and employees were warned. Now here, this is interesting here. They were warned prior to the death of April Leeming not to engage in deceptive marketing and advertising of their services. These warnings came from various regulatory agencies regarding the deceptive marketing practice employed by AAC defendants. Yet, despite these warnings, AAC defendants knew, or should have known, that their deceptive marketing and promotions would attract clients such as the decedent and her mom, and that such false and deceptive advertising presented a significant risk of harm, injury, and or death to clients, including the decedent and her mom, from such false advertising. Once clients were admitted to AAC defendants' residential treatment business, the AAC defendants engaged in common scheme and practice, which was focused on retention of clients who had money and or demonstrated the ability to make continuous payments. Thus, if a client required hospitalization for a medical condition that was beyond their licensure or capabilities, the AAC defendants would continue to retain those clients, putting profit above the health and safety of the clients. The AAC defendants' business model of admitting and keeping clients who demonstrated an ability to make continuous payments, especially for those clients that required a higher level of care and demonstrated the ability to pay, was particularly dangerous because AAC defendants were not licensed or qualified to provide that necessary medical care for such clients. As of the time of April Leeming's death, AAC defendants lacked the necessary medical staffing and supervision and employed individuals who were unqualified, untrained, and inexperienced in meeting the needs of clients such as April Leeming. AAC defendants failed to appropriately assess, refer, monitor April Leeming while she was under their care, and as a direct and proximate result, she died. April Leeming had a history of alcohol addiction and sought treatment with AAC defendants for her addiction in September of 2018. AAC defendants admitted April Leeming to their non-medical residential drug rehab treatment business at Desert Hope on September 19, 2018 at approximately 2:30 p.m. April Leeming died within 17 hours of admission. At the time of admission, AAC defendants knew or should have known that April Leeming's condition required immediate transfer to a hospital, and 24/7 monitoring was required until transfer could be facilitated to the appropriate hospital. Knowing of its own shortcomings, or at least in complete denial of the same, AAC defendants admitted April Leeming anyway. AAC defendants' staff assessed April Leeming in the afternoon of September 19, 2018. At that time, AAC defendants' staff observed and recorded symptoms, including but not limited to inability to walk, requiring a wheelchair, severe tremors, nausea with vomiting, auditory and visual disturbance, disorientation as to time and place, elevated vital signs, dilated pupils, significant pain, and delirium tremens. Such symptoms required immediate transfer to a hospital where April Leeming could be placed under medical monitoring by a physician. AAC defendants also performed an alcohol screening on April Leeming and were aware that she had a current blood alcohol concentration of 0.257. AAC defendants knew or should have known that a BAC of 0.257, in conjunction with the symptoms being reported, that April Leeming required immediate transfer to a hospital for her medical conditions, needing close monitoring and or immediate stabilization. Yet, AAC defendants still did not transfer April Leeming to a hospital as was required. On September 19, 2018, AAC defendants obtained a history from April Leeming in which they learned that April Leeming had a history of delirium tremens as well as a history of seizures. From April Leeming's medical history, AAC defendants knew or should have known April Leeming required immediate hospitalization for stabilization and medical monitoring of withdrawal symptoms by a physician. Yet, AAC defendants still did not transfer April Leeming to a hospital as was required. Now, a lot of this is going to sound redundant, but it's important because it points out all of the different opportunities that AAC defendants had to make this decision and all of the reasons that this decision should have been known to them, right? Knew or should have known. They are an addiction treatment center. AAC defendants did not have the appropriate medical staffing at Desert Hope facility for April Leeming, who required 24-hour medical monitoring by a physician to ensure safe detoxification. Now, I'm going to kind of skim through some of this just so that we can get through it and get to more important things. So, AAC defendants knew or should have known that April Leeming required 24-hour medical monitoring and that Desert Hope was not the appropriate facility to provide for this needed medical service. AAC defendants made a business decision to admit and keep April Leeming at Desert Hope rather than transferring April Leeming to a hospital where she could have been medically monitored by a physician. Despite that, AAC defendants knew or should have known that April Leeming required a higher level of care than could be offered at Desert Hope. AAC defendants' own policies and procedures, as well as Nevada law, required AAC defendants to facilitate referral and transfer of April Leeming to a hospital that could provide the necessary medical care, which AAC defendants failed to do. AAC defendants failed to use reasonable care in failing to transfer April Leeming for medical care on September 19th and September 20th of 2018 prior to her death. Instead, AAC defendants chose to keep April Leeming in their program to avoid losing a paying client, a financially motivated business decision. AAC defendants' own policies and procedures, as well as Nevada law, required AAC defendants to closely monitor clients such as April Leeming who were assessed by AAC defendants and believed to be acutely intoxicated and in severe withdrawal. Such monitoring included 24-hour supervision and regularly checking vital signs. AAC defendants' own policies and procedures required AAC defendants to physically observe a new client, such as April Leeming, at least every 30 minutes, and to regularly check and document April Leeming's vital signs. Such a requirement existed, even absent the signs of acute intoxication and severe withdrawal symptoms April Leeming exhibited. So that's just standard operating procedure. Any new client needs to be monitored at least every 30 minutes and have vital signs checked regularly and documented, even if they weren't as severe as April. Staff documented a need to perform 30-minute checks to monitor April Leeming. So the staff documented that they did need to do this, these 30-minute checks. AAC defendants failed to monitor April Leeming while under their care until she ultimately died. AAC defendants' failure to reasonably monitor April Leeming while under their care was a direct and proximate cause of her death. Plaintiff is informed and believes, and therefore alleges, that AAC defendants' policies and practices were and are such that as long as the prospective client had or has the financial ability to pay and or health insurance coverage, AAC defendants would admit the individual into AAC defendants' drug rehab program and keep them in the program regardless of their medical and or mental health conditions. Under a directive from business management, AAC defendants would admit clients regardless of whether they were assessed as requiring treatment in a hospital setting. Further, AAC defendants made it difficult for clients to obtain emergency medical care once in their program. Clients' belongings, including cell phones, wallets, were confiscated upon admission. This was part of AAC defendants' policy and practice to ensure that once clients arrived, they did not leave until their contractual time period was over. If clients left early, AAC defendants would lose money. Now, not to defend anybody here or whatever, that is common practice in any rehab, to take the phone and things like that. However, if you're going to take someone's only way to get help, plus, let's keep in mind, this is a voluntary rehab facility. If you don't want to be there, you can leave. So, I don't know about it. I don't know. Prior to April Leeming's death, other clients with serious medical and or psychiatric issues were admitted to American Addiction Centers, Inc. residential facilities and died shortly thereafter, putting AAC defendants on notice as to this dangerous and deadly practice. And we'll talk more about those prior deaths more towards the end of the video. Prior to April Leeming's death, AAC defendants also had knowledge of their deficiencies in staffing, assessment, referral, and monitoring of clients while under their care. Despite knowledge of prior deaths, deficiencies in staffing, and deficiencies in assessment, referral, and monitoring of clients, AAC defendants continued their unsafe practice of admitting and keeping individuals in AAC defendants' program despite having medical and or mental health conditions which made them inappropriate. AAC defendants continue to disregard their known obligations with respect to staffing, assessment, referral, and monitoring of clients in the program. And April Leeming died as a direct and proximate cause of AAC defendants' unsafe practices. AAC defendants' conduct as alleged herein, was motivated by greed and their own financial self-interest. AAC defendants sought to prey upon addicted individuals and their vulnerabilities, consciously disregarding clients' rights and safety for the purpose of making a profit. Such conduct was controlled, directed, authorized, and or ratified by AAC defendants' owners, officers, directors, and or managing agents. Breaking that down very quickly, they knew, or should have known, that they couldn't handle certain clients, but they took them anyway to make money. Moving on to causes for the lawsuit. There are 5. The first cause being wrongful death, the second cause, general negligence, the third, fraud and misrepresentation, the fourth, neglect of a vulnerable person, and the fifth, medical malpractice. Now, like I said, this is all public record, so anyone can look this up. It's not difficult to find. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description box to read the entire thing because I'm not going to read every single one of these because I want to get to some other issues. But I am just going to read out a couple of points from each cause just so you get the gist of each one. So the first cause of action, wrongful death. Number 69. AAC defendants acted with a conscious disregard for April Leeming's safety and with oppression, fraud, and malice in breaching their statutory, regulatory, and or fiduciary duties to April Leeming. AAC defendants owed a duty to April Leeming to act reasonably and to meet the relevant standards of care in the industry, such as those adopted by AAC defendants, as well as those set forth under Nevada law. Number 70. AAC defendants knew that it was probable that their conduct in failing to facilitate transfer of April Leeming for medical care and failing to monitor her when it was known that she was medically unstable would cause harm to April Leeming and knowingly disregarded the risk. It was malicious in that AAC defendants' despicable conduct subjected April Leeming to cruel and unjust suffering in conscious disregard of her rights to a safe place for drug rehabilitation. That just hurts. That really hurts. This woman suffered. Okay. 71. AAC defendants' actions and omissions as set forth above that resulted in April Leeming's death were a result of financially motivated business decisions, which placed a greater value on keeping a paying client, April Leeming, at their facility than on April Leeming's safety. 72. April Leeming suffered pain and suffering caused by AAC defendants' acts and or omissions prior to her death. The second cause, general negligence. Again, these are just a few points just to kind of help you understand what happened here. Number 85. AAC defendants failed to provide a safe place for detox. They failed to properly provide the staffing needed to provide a safe place for detox and failed to use reasonable care to assess, refer, and monitor April Leeming during detox. Such failures include, but not limited to, AAC defendants' failure to facilitate transfer of April Leeming to a hospital upon assessing her medical condition at intake to Desert Hope, and AAC defendants' failure to continuously monitor April Leeming until safe transfer to a hospital could be arranged. 86. As a direct and proximate result of AAC defendants' negligence in hiring, training, retaining, and supervision of their employees and staff, April Leeming experienced pain and suffering and ultimately death, leaving behind a grieving mother. The third cause, fraud, misrepresentation. Number 89. AAC defendants made representations about their facilities, program, history, and the nature of care they provided that were materially misleading and false. This included making representations to April Leeming and plaintiff that Desert Hope had doctors on site and that April Leeming would be closely monitored 24/7 while in detox. These representations were in fact false. Here is an excerpt from the Desert Hope Treatment Center website, and this one is included in the lawsuit, but I have several that I've taken of my own that I have probably been showing or will be showing throughout this video. As you can see here, it states medical detox. And you guys, this is still on their website today. Like, I just checked today. I've been working on this for a few weeks, but just checked today. Still there. If you or a loved one requires medical supervision while your body adjusts to decreasing substance levels, a supervised stay in medical detox may be necessary. This level of care allows us to manage your withdrawal symptoms in a safe and quiet withdrawal environment during the detox experience, which usually lasts about 5 to 7 days. In detox, you'll be medically monitored 24/7 by a licensed medical team of physicians, nurses, and support staff knowledgeable on detox and withdrawal from different drugs. I'm starting to want to throw shit. 90. April Leeming and plaintiff relied on AAC defendants' representations that they would provide a safe place for detoxification in making the decision to submit to AAC defendants' residential treatment program and pay thousands of dollars to AAC defendants. And as a result of not receiving the medical care that was promised, April Leeming died. 91. As of September 19th, 2018, had AAC defendants been truthful about the nature of their residential treatment business, unqualified personnel, and lack of medical care available at Desert Hope, April Leeming would not have agreed to enter the program and would have immediately asked for transfer to a hospital offering a higher level of care. Talk about choices being taken from vulnerable people. 93. AAC defendants concealed the fact that they lacked the ability to provide the necessary medical treatment to stabilize the client who was going through severe withdrawal. And 103, the proper course of conduct called for by community and industry standards was for AAC defendants to fully inform April Leeming and plaintiff of the truth that AAC defendants did not employ physicians who would be on site to provide 24/7 medical supervision over her detoxification. Had AAC defendants told April Leeming and plaintiff the truth, April Leeming would never have even entered the program. The fourth cause, neglect of a vulnerable person. Too bad they don't have a sixth cause, manipulation of a vulnerable person. In my opinion, 108. April Leeming was a vulnerable person because she had a physical and mental impairment as a result of acute intoxication and being in severe withdrawal that substantially restricted her ability to perform one or more of the normal life activities, and had a medical and physiological impairment. 109. AAC defendants deprived April Leeming of necessary medical care for her physical and mental health by AAC defendants' failure to adequately staff for the needs of, assess, refer, and monitor April Leeming while under their care. And 110, AAC defendants' failure to adequately staff, assess, refer, and monitor April Leeming was done with recklessness, oppression, and fraud, depriving April Leeming of needed medical care. And the fifth cause, medical malpractice. 115. According to AAC defendants' records, Praveen Saran, MD, was the designated provider for April Leeming when she was admitted to Desert Hope. 116. Defendant Praveen Saran, MD, was notified of April Leeming's admission and her medically unstable condition upon arrival. 117. Defendant Praveen Saran, MD, knew or should have known that April Leeming required immediate medical attention in a hospital setting to manage her withdrawal. 118. Defendant Praveen Saran, MD, failed to use reasonable care in assessing, referring, and medically monitoring April Leeming when she was in severe withdrawal. I don't think we need to unpack that because I think it all speaks for itself. Because of April's mother filing this lawsuit, another doctor by the name of Dr. Michael Susher, okay. Cue the pronunciation, please. Dr. Michael Susher, MD, took a look at the medical records and autopsy reports of April Leeming. Within this record is an affidavit from Dr. Susher, the first page listing all of his credentials, which there are a lot. I'm not going to read all of it. There are a lot, and it appears that he is very qualified to speak on this case. He was retained by Joanne Leeming's attorneys to provide expert opinions and consultation and testimony regarding the circumstances leading to the death of April Leeming and the standard of care issued as it relates to the detoxification facilities. Now, we're going to get into what Dr. Susher had to say. Again, this is going to be a little bit long, but it is the full breakdown of what went wrong for April Leeming. Number 7, I have reviewed following records and documents. A, client file for April Leeming from American Addiction Center's Desert Hope Treatment Center. B, autopsy report for April Leeming. C, police report regarding death of April Leeming, and D, website for Desert Hope. 8. Based on my review of the preceding documents and the basis of my professional knowledge, training, and experience, I have formed the following opinions, which I hold to a reasonable medical probability with respect to American Addiction Centers, Inc., Concord Treatment Center, LLC, Desert Hope, Praveen Saran, MD, and Does 1 through 25, hereafter referred to collectively as AAC defendants. April Leeming had a history of alcohol addiction. She sought treatment with AAC defendants for her addiction in September of 2018. AAC defendants admitted April Leeming to their drug and alcohol treatment business at Desert Hope on September 19, 2018 at approximately 2:30 p.m. April Leeming died within 17 hours of her admission. At the time of admission, AAC defendants knew or should have known that April Leeming was a patient that should never have been admitted to their facility because her condition required immediate transfer to a hospital where she would receive constant monitoring of the severe withdrawal symptoms she was experiencing. AAC defendants admitted April Leeming anyway. Likewise, the AAC defendants knew or should have known that they were required to provide constant monitoring during the entire time that April Leeming was in their care and up until the time that she could be transferred to the appropriate hospital. April Leeming was admitted in the afternoon of September 19, 2018. At that time, AAC defendants staff observed and recorded symptoms, including but not limited to inability to walk, requiring a wheelchair, severe tremors, nausea, auditory and visual change, disturbance to sensitivity, disorientation and confusion, abnormal vital signs, dilated pupils, anxiety, severe cravings, a 10 out of 10 to be exact, irritability, significant pain, and delirium tremens. Such symptoms required immediate transfer to a hospital where April Leeming could be placed under immediate and constant supervision and care. On September 19, 2018, AAC defendants also performed an alcohol screening, which showed that April Leeming had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.257 on admission. AAC defendants knew or should have known that a BAC of 0.257 in conjunction with the symptoms being reported required the AAC defendants to immediately transfer April Leeming to a hospital, yet AAC defendants did not transfer April Leeming to a hospital, as was required by the standard of care. On September 19, 2018, AAC defendants performed a withdrawal assessment on April Leeming on the Clinical Institute Withdrawal Assessment for Alcohol scale, or CWA scale. April Leeming scored a 30. A CWA score of 30 is clear and objective evidence of being in severe withdrawal that requires immediate hospitalization for stabilization and medical monitoring of withdrawal symptoms by a physician. Yet, AAC defendants still did not transfer April Leeming to a hospital as was required. On September 19, 2018, AAC defendants obtained a history from April Leeming, in which they learned that April Leeming had a history of delirium tremens, as well as a history of seizures. From April Leeming's medical history alone, AAC defendants knew or should have known April Leeming required immediate hospitalization for stabilization and 24/7 medical monitoring of withdrawal symptoms. Yet, AAC defendants still did not transfer April Leeming to a hospital as was required. AAC defendants did not have the appropriate medical staffing at Desert Hope's facility for April Leeming, who required 24-hour medical monitoring to ensure safe detoxification. AAC defendants misrepresented that they would have 24-hour medical monitoring by a physician. AAC defendants failed to even conduct 30-minute checks as required by their own policy. AAC defendants, by and through their agents, failed to appropriately assess, refer, and monitor April Leeming while she was under their care, and as a direct and proximate result, she died. For the reasons set forth above, AAC defendants and their agents fell below the medical and industry standard of care for providing a safe and competent place for detoxification. Furthermore, it is noted in April Leeming's client file that defendant Praveen Saran, MD, ordered a mild alcohol detox protocol for April Leeming on September 19, 2018, without examining her in person. And when it was known, or should have been known to defendant Praveen Saran, MD, that April Leeming was medically unstable and required immediate transfer to hospital for her safety. If it was defendant Praveen Saran, MD's decision to admit and or keep April Leeming at Desert Hope rather than request a transfer for her to a hospital setting where she could have been medically monitored by a physician, defendant Praveen Saran, MD's conduct fell below a reasonable standard of care for a physician practicing in addiction medicine. So that's Dr. Michael Susher's expert opinion on this case. And honestly, I really don't see how you even have to be an expert or a professional to see the neglect and the fraud that led to the wrongful death of April Leeming. Now, this video isn't about April Leeming necessarily. It's about Desert Hope Treatment Center. And because of that, we're going to move on now to some of the complaints that have been written in the comment sections all over the internet about Desert Hope Treatment Center. We are talking about American Addiction Centers. Centers, plural. They have several locations throughout the United States, and trust me, there are more than just Desert Hope that have been accused of being less than stellar. We'll just put it that way. But again, I want to keep it focused on Amanda Rabb because it's very easy to fall down the rabbit hole, right? And start going this way and that way. And then people are confused and things aren't making sense. So sticking with the purpose of the digging that uncovered all of this stuff, we're going to move on. But I did want to say this. What we have learned from April Leeming's lawsuit is that Desert Hope Treatment Center in particular has been known for misleading families and false representing their level of care to their patients or clients. They have been known to not follow their own protocol. They have been known for not following Nevada law. And it's been proven in this lawsuit. It's been allegedly proven in this lawsuit. Let me correct myself here. That they are allegedly greed motivated and have ignored prior warnings to change the way they do things in order to keep their clients safe. Just to wrap up what happened to April Leeming, there were several signs that April needed to be transferred to a hospital. Number one, her blood alcohol content was 0.257. That is extremely high for anybody. Even if they are functioning alcoholics, they can have a level like that. Absolutely, yes, but they need alcohol at that point to keep from going into withdrawals. So the BAC being that high, it should have been the first indication that she was going to need medical treatment, medical detox. The next thing was the CWA score. We know from the medical records that April Leeming scored a 30. I looked this up, and it appears that anything over 15 is high enough to indicate that a person more than likely needs medical detox and 24/7 supervision. We also know that she gave a history of delirium tremens and seizures when she was withdrawing from alcohol in the past. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this is probably going to happen during this withdrawal process as well. And not only that, the list of symptoms that April Leeming was displaying would indicate to even someone standing on the street that knows nothing about addiction, April Leeming needed to be in a hospital. Sorry, not sorry, it's the truth. I mean, the woman was wheelchair bound. She had no clue what time it was, what day it was, where she was. She was violently shaking. Her pupils were dilated. She was irritable, agitated. Her cravings were 10 out of 10. And I tell you what, They weren't 10 out of 10 because she felt like getting drunk. They were 10 out of 10 because she felt she was going to die if she did not have some alcohol, because whatever they were doing was not enough to safely detox her. And that is a fact. She knew she was dying. But I think the biggest thing that just really pisses me off about this April Leeming case is that she suffered. She went there for help to safely detox. And not only did she die, but she suffered until she died. It is disgusting and it is disgraceful. And if it were up to me, I would say Desert Hope Treatment Center gets shut down. And not only that, criminal charges need to be brought upon whoever the hell is the reason she was kept there in the first place. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone else who sat around knowing damn well she needed to go to a hospital and yet they did nothing. What medications was April Leeming getting to help with any of her symptoms? Was she being given Ativan? Was she set up on IV fluids and electrolytes? We know she was not checked every 30 minutes and that her vitals were not taken every 30 minutes like it was supposed to be done, like it says right on their website. And it also says this right here in this lawsuit. Yes, it's alleged. However, according to the medical records, there wasn't a log stating that someone had checked on her every 30 minutes. My question is, did Lima Yevremovich know about the history of Desert Hope Treatment Center before putting Amanda Rabb there? Because you couldn't afford to pay where she was supposed to go? We talked about how Desert Hope Treatment Center allegedly is greed motivated, keeping people who have the ability to pay even if they shouldn't, even if the client wanted to leave the facility. On the opposite side of things, Desert Hope Treatment Center has gotten complaints for allegedly turning a lot of people away when they didn't have the ability to pay, or they were told that their insurance was covered, but when they were flown to the facility from a totally different state, they found that the insurance did not cover it. And basically were told that if you can't pay for this out of pocket, then we can't help you. And then they provided these people with no flight home and nowhere to stay, allegedly. So let's get into some of these complaints from people who alleged to have been patients at Desert Hope Treatment Center. I don't even really know where to start because there are so many. But I think the best place to start would be the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau website on Desert Hope Treatment Center is kind of misleading because they have an A+ rating. So if you don't keep scrolling and you just look at that very first image, you think, okay, cool, they got an A+ rating, we're good to go. Now, please feel free, again, to pause to read any of this because I'm not going to go into every single complaint. There are really that many. I also just want to say, to be fair, they do have a lot of positive feedback as well. So I'm only going over the negative ones that prove my case, basically. This one you see here, this is from a former employee, a registered nurse who worked there through April of 2021. So it looks like this person quit while Amanda Rabb was in the facility because Amanda Rabb passed away May 9th of 2021. And this says that this is a former employee through April 10th of 2021. So 1 month prior. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I'm just pointing out that it's a possibility. Amanda knew her, and she's saying that things have been going on in the facility. I don't know for a fact if that's her quit date or if that's when she wrote this, but either way, she no longer works there. But she did work there when Amanda Rabb stayed there. Now, she titled her interview, quote, "Easy job, no real managers, and you can get away with pretty much anything." Unquote. And then she goes on to say, you start at 6 a.m., you're usually understaffed, don't call the RNs that sit in the office, they don't like calls. Day shift house, I think this is supposed to be supervisor, does not help you at all. No raises, easy gig, you can be on your phone all day. You can smoke whenever you want. You just make a deal with another nurse you work with so you can break when you want. You never see a manager and there are no cameras, so they never know. Here's one from another former employee, another RN, who has titled their review, quote, "Terrible culture," unquote. She goes on to say, I was an RN there when Desert Hope first opened, and it seemed like a great place to work until the management changed and company culture was all about making money. Oh, well, where have we heard that before? Morale declined and patients were treated like garbage. CEOs and DONs and DONs were cycled through quickly when they needed someone to blame. Lots of favoritism shown by certain leadership. They're gone now too, though. Pay was decent. Here's another former employee who titled their review, quote, "This company is not a good place to work. 0 good qualities that come to mind," unquote. This job starts out okay. They fool you with a small amount of work when you start. When you become full-time and work there, they add on more and more stuff, transferring you without consent to roles that fit their agenda, not giving any thought or consideration to you and your strengths. The admin at this job have no idea what they're doing, and a company's failure starts at the top and trickles down to the bottom. But they love taking out all of their frustrations on you when something goes awry. This company, in my opinion, is the worst place to work at and needs to be recognized as a stepping stone to where you really want to work. But if I had any advice to anyone applying, do not work here. You will regret it, and you will be unhappy and stressed the entire time. The Better Business Bureau, in regards to Desert Hope Treatment Center, has this little notification where it says the complaints and customer reviews shown on this profile include all complaints and reviews submitted about either the business headquarters or any of its corporate-owned locations, including this one being Desert Hope. There's then this red flag that says current alerts for this business, and it's in regards to licensing, where it says BBB confirmed that Desert Hope Treatment Center had not obtained a necessary license from 3 Clark County Recorder. BBB encourages you to contact the following agencies or agency to confirm this information. So what? They haven't obtained a license? You guys, I just clicked on this a couple weeks ago, but I'll click on it again to make sure and see if it's still there. But regardless, they don't have a necessary license. Well, I'm pretty sure they don't have a license to do medical detox. And after going through April Leeming's lawsuits, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, does it surprise you? Also, according to the Better Business Bureau's website, this business has 1.32 stars out of 5. 21 complaints have been closed in the last 3 years, and 4 complaints have been closed in the last 12 months. All complaints are handled by the Better Business Bureau, where the company is headquartered, or a central customer complaint processing location. And then it gives you the option to read complaints, which is where I'm getting these reviews from. I will revisit the BBB again to wrap up the complaints later on in the video. For now, let's go to the Google reviews of Desert Hope Treatment Center. And some of these do have a response underneath, but you will note they're very basic responses. This very first review I came across gives Desert Hope 1 star. Now, just keep in mind, these are comments. These are all alleged, okay? We don't know how factual any of these people are. I just want to say as a disclaimer, these are people's opinions about their experience. That's it. And I'm simply reading them off. My girlfriend went to Desert Hope, the same treatment program as Amanda. 2 people tried to kill themselves. People were using drugs in the rehab. 2 people overdosed. 3 people had seizures from mismanagement of medication and detox. A male patient walked into her room, which would be his girlfriend, repeatedly over the span of a week when she was sleeping, and the staff didn't address the issue appropriately. And she didn't talk to a therapist for 1/3 of the time she was there. She was only there for 25 days. Again, this is someone who's speaking on behalf of their girlfriend who was a patient there, allegedly. So right away, this comment stuck out to me because that's exactly what I have discovered in my own investigation of Desert Hope Treatment Center. And that is that it was very loosely run, as AAC treatment centers have been run, not just this one. And Amanda Rabb was not the only one who died. Again, I'm going to remind you, you can pause to read the reviews that I'm not reading. I'm just kind of picking ones that stand out to me. That's all. This person says, wish I could leave no stars. This place has a hotline that lies and gets paid off of sending people here, telling you you're approved for 60 days, and then they tell you the day that you're leaving that what they told you is not true. Body brokering is an illegal profit scheme. Some rehab facilities use the scheme to generate an ongoing supply of patients and their insurance money. They can't control COVID outbreaks, and if you get it, they kick you out. They wait until the day you're leaving to tell you that you're leaving that day. They don't help with aftercare. They'll kick people out with nowhere to go and don't even offer them a ride. There are pictures online that are not even the current building. They have basketball courts, but no basketball. Horseshoe rock pits, but no horseshoes. A volleyball court, but no volleyball. Save yourself and go somewhere else. Well, this was 8 months ago. Amanda said that they played volleyball though. But we didn't actually witness that, did we? And I never saw a volleyball either. I don't know, you guys. Seems like an awful lot of fraud going on to me, but that's just my opinion. It also looks like during COVID, anyone who got COVID was either kicked out or put into isolation so that they couldn't even attend meetings. Yet, that counted as part of their 30 days. So when you think back when COVID was a thing, isolation was supposed to be for 14 days, right? So half of these people's treatment was spent in isolation, not getting treatment. Yet, they were still raking in insurance money, or however they were being paid, whether it was out of pocket. This person said, Desert Hope kept me in detox for 22 days. Wow, that's a really long time to be in detox. He goes on to say, of course, I felt much better after day 4, but the priority for Desert Hope was billing my insurance company for this higher level of care. Yes, detox does cost more than just regular care. Multiple times, I asked any and all staff why I was still in detox, and multiple times it appeared to be a mystery to anyone I approached. That was unethical and extremely distasteful. The cash grab by supposed medical professionals is beyond distasteful. I get it that rehab is profitable and business is booming, but shame on you. The treatment of people suffering from addiction as a whole is disgusting. These are people with a disease who are coming to what they believe to be a professional establishment to help treat their disease, to help get them sober. They have admitted they have a problem and they want to fix it. And they are being manipulated, allegedly, and lied to, allegedly, being confused, allegedly. And at the end of the day, this treatment center is not able to keep their patients sober even while inside their facility. Allegedly, my opinion, based off of what I have read, and not just here in comments and reviews, but on an actual lawsuit. Here's more of a new review. This is just a few weeks ago. Do not send a loved one here. And there's a ton of exclamation points. This person wants to be sure that you do not send someone you care about to Desert Hope Treatment Center. They write, this is the absolute worst place to send a family member. They are just out for your money and they do not actually care about their patients. No one knows what's going on when you call, and if they had their way, they would simply toss their patients out on the curb once the money is received. All the bad reviews are true. Proceed with caution. They then put an update. I was charged $1,666.66 today. Ironic, because this place does remind me of the devil. Now, I can't help but laugh because, is she wrong? It seems like she's not alone in feeling that way. She goes on, my mother was discharged from the facility early with a positive balance in her account. I have called 3 separate times to understand why my account is still being charged, but have not been able to get a hold of anyone. These people love to waste your time while stealing your money. And then she goes on and says, funny, I've tried to reach out directly to get my issues resolved, but I can't get a hold of anyone. She leaves another update saying, guess they read my update and figured out the issue because I got an email saying my account was refunded. Yet no one tried to reach out directly. Awful facility and management practices. A year later, and I would still not recommend this place to anyone. Beware of their predatory tactics. Looks like they are paying for reviews now. And here's someone talking about how their loved one would be sent to a homeless shelter if the family wasn't able to pick them up within 45 minutes. Here's another one. This place flew me and my boyfriend from Arkansas to Las Vegas, let us spend the night, then the following morning informed us that our insurance didn't cover it, and we were stranded on the streets of Vegas for several days. They are supposed to help addicts, not leave them 1,400 miles away from home on the streets. Another one. These people are scandalous. They told us they had a bed for the 30-day program. When we got there, they said they didn't have any beds and put her on an outpatient program. We need her in a lockdown facility for 30 days to get her clean and in a routine. Bait and switch. Bait and switched. Now, this sounds like a family member of an addict that knows that their loved one needs to be locked down in a facility and was misled into thinking that Desert Hope Treatment Center could do this for them. And it wasn't until they got there that they realized that it wasn't possible. This one got a lot of response, though the response is very generic and lacks any kind of empathy, in my opinion. You can pause to read. This person here talks about the way this facility is a complete profit scheme. They tell you that insurance will cover one amount when you do the assessment, and then once you get there, they tell you a totally different amount, or that your insurance doesn't cover anything and you need to leave or else you'll be taken to a homeless shelter. There were people that were flown from other states to this facility who were told once they arrived that they in fact could not afford to be there, and therefore they couldn't stay there. So think about it, okay? These people are miles and miles away from home. They're addicted. Some of them have probably already begun some kind of detox within themselves. Others maybe had a last hurrah, so to speak, and counting on a safe medical detox. Regardless, they are now left stranded on the streets of Las Vegas, addicted, and nowhere to go. This was not their choice because they thought they were going to be admitted to a treatment facility. They were misled and, dare I say, lied to, with no regard for their health or their safety or their addiction. I mean, think of it. You're left stranded in Vegas and you have addiction issues. Like, of course, this is all in my opinion and all that jazz. Just a quick, transparent thought here, but I'm beginning to wonder how many people in the Las Vegas homeless population are actually addicts who were flown out to Desert Hope and then kicked out with no way home.
One night a year, Clark County goes out and counts the number of people in need who might be in shelters, on the streets, or in camps. Every year since 2020, that one night count has grown. Let's take a look at the numbers. It is about 6,500 on that one single night in a given year. Now, let's look at those sleeping on the streets, in cars. That number has grown too by more than 1,000 people.
I have a lot of people coming in from different states.
Then we can go into Yelp reviews. This person says it's a total dump, chaotic, insurance money swindlers, thieves amongst staff and amongst patients. Says patients having sex and abusing their meds or sneaking in drugs, unprofessional, and a huge relapse rate that they lie about, and a huge safety liability. They use extremely unethical virtual reality-based treatment that puts people in bars, Skid Row, with VR drug addicts shooting up with track marks, prostitutes, etc. It's not a helpful tool. And I said that in a video, my very first video about all of this. People, places, and things. I mean, it's really screwed up that they would put people in these positions at a rehab center. It really, really is. It's too soon anyway. So messed up beyond words. Sick, sick, sick. A girl named Amanda B died there in 2021. I'm pretty sure this person means Amanda Rabb. These people and these types of places completely exploit vulnerable and suffering people for profit. They don't care about you or your loved one seeking help in the slightest. They care about your money. Please beware before sending a loved one to this type of exploitative hellhole. Wow, hellhole. I mean, yeah. This treatment center promised to fly my husband there and back. We live in Colorado. They flew him there, and when treatment was over, told him to get his own way back. They lied to get him there so they could charge our insurance. Shame on this company. Wouldn't send my dog there. You people know nothing about treatment if you have to lie to get people there and then set them out in another state than where they live. These people target desperate people and exploit them. Again, shame on you. And I said we'd be wrapping up with another Better Business Bureau complaint. So here's a complaint from the Better Business Bureau's site. Now, this was August 7th of 2021. So this was a couple months after Amanda had passed away. And this person actually did file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. It does say the status was resolved, whatever that means, but nevertheless, it doesn't change what happened. So let's go over her complaint. I got to Desert Hope on July 19th, 2021. The first week I was there, one patient overdosed on fentanyl. The nurses had to run to the first floor to get the Narcan while waiting for EMS. I was wrongfully discharged on July 30th of 2021, which I am sure I will seek counsel for. I was supposed to be there 30 days. They are trying to make me pay for the full 30 days. I told them I would pay for the days that I was there, no more. I think it's wrong to make someone pay for services that were not rendered. This company doesn't care about the patient, only the money they bring in. The night I was discharged, I was forced to stay in my room for hours until my flight was ready. I was not given any dinner, and $100 worth of my items were taken without my knowledge. The Joint Commission needs to investigate this facility, as I saw so many things wrong. I will probably have to hire an attorney to get my money back, as the company will not work with me and is still demanding that I pay the full amount. Yeah, okay, so she was there July 19th to July 30th. Why so short? Like, I don't understand. Why did they kick her out? Did insurance stop paying? Like, what's the deal? I mean, there's two sides to every story. Maybe this person did something wrong. I don't know. But at the same time, she's over here telling us that the very first week she was there, someone OD'd on fentanyl. And the nurses apparently went up to the second floor. Remember, this is a 2-story facility, and then had to run back down to the first floor to get Narcan. Ay. I want to close up the complaints with this one. This was 2 months after Amanda Rabb's death. Another complaint from the Better Business Bureau, July 14th, 2021. This is more of a billing issue. However, this person gives us a little insight into what was going on in Desert Hope while they were in the treatment center. Described, quote, one-on-one counseling, unquote, as well as a personalized treatment plan. I never saw a counselor or a physician until day 3. I never met my caseworker. They changed medication programs twice in 24 hours. A patient 3 doors down took their own life on the second day I was there. Another patient took their own life the day I left. We were locked in our rooms for hours while we heard screams, sirens, and breaking down the door to find the patient hanging in her bathroom. No one told us what was going on. The place should be closed until they can have a safe environment for patients. My goodness, you guys. I mean, this is terrible. This is absolutely, positively disgraceful. You specialize in addiction, yet you treat addicts like monkeys that you can keep in cages. And that, of course, is just my opinion. But I think you guys get it with the comments. I could honestly be reading comments for hours. I'll kind of keep them going across the screen a little bit. You can see they have more 1-star reviews than 5-star reviews. And it's been alleged that they're paying for positive reviews. Again, it's only been alleged, but they wouldn't be the first company to do that. After all, they make a lot of money off of this, and they probably don't spend as much as they're making on treatment or the staff. So they probably have money to hire someone to filter through comments. Again, it's just speculation. It's just an opinion. But also, again, they wouldn't be the first company or business to do that. At this point, you guys are probably wondering, how can this even be allowed to happen? How are they getting away with this? How are they still open and operating and taking in patients? Well, when it comes to wrongful death in a rehab facility, if you don't have someone advocating for you, it can very easily be miscounted as just an unfortunate death. If someone takes their own life within a facility, that can be argued. There have been people that take their own life within jail cells and prison cells. It happens, though I do have to say being in jail or prison is a little bit different than going to a rehab facility for addiction voluntarily and paying for help, paying for safety while getting that help, and trusting that you are in the care of professionals, trusting that your loved one is in the care of professionals. Also, in my opinion only, I highly doubt that someone would go into a voluntary rehab with taking their own life as a preconceived plan. Yet, we have articles like this one. AAC faces another wrongful death lawsuit stemming from the 2017 overdose death of 23-year-old Cody Arbuckle at its Solutions Recovery facility in Las Vegas. Cody Arbuckle had been a patient at Solutions for 19 days. His mother, Kathy Dean, filed a complaint with state regulators demanding that an inspection be performed on the sober house and staff. 7 months later, that investigation came back that the complaint couldn't be substantiated due to a, quote, lack of evidence, unquote. Now, when have we heard that before?
There was a lot of lack of documentation because of a lack of evidence. So
the company did not immediately respond to a request for comment, and in the past, it has declined to discuss patient deaths, citing medical privacy laws. Well, according to one of the comments I just read, in 2021, 2 people took their own lives at Desert Hope Treatment Center. Like, where's that at? Where can we find that? It's alleged, and there's no proof. A California jury hit AAC with a $7 million judgment in the wrongful death of Sean Reyna. Attorneys in the Reyna case also represented April Leeming's mother. We also have Connor Johnson, who took his own life at AAC's Desert Hope facility in Las Vegas on November 28th of 2016, according to the Clark County coroner. A negligence lawsuit was filed against AAC by Johnson's parents. Quote, defendants failed to take basic minimum precautions to protect residents like Connor from self-harm, ignoring the safety measures that a reasonable person would find most obvious. Specifically, defendants allowed Connor to maintain unfettered possession of his leather belt, despite knowing that just 1 month earlier, he was hospitalized after being found with a leather belt around his neck, the suit alleges. Joseph Nicolosi, 25, died in February of 2018 of multiple drug intoxication, according to the Clark County coroner. Nicolosi was a client at Resolutions, a sober living home operated by AAC. The sober living home, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but that would have been the sober living house that Amanda Rabb would have went to. Of course, AAC has denied all allegations of patient brokering. And aside from some of these bigger misleading statements that these facilities have on their website, and tell potential patients or clients that they are advertised as luxury recovery centers with luxury amenities, which are said to be false after inspections have been done. Some observations by the state included multiple holes in the ceilings, dirty conditions, damage to walls and doors in Solutions Recovery Center. There have also been comments from people who have been at Desert Hope Treatment Center talking about how the food is nowhere near the 5-star rating Desert Hope says that it is. They also do not cater to special diets as listed on their website. And people have also brought attention to the fact that across the street from one of AAC's facilities in Las Vegas is New Woo Cannabis Marketplace, boasting to be, quote, the largest recreational cannabis store on the planet, unquote. AAC has been the target of a number of wrongful death lawsuits nationally since 2015. According to the articles I have read. Now, this is important to know. In Nevada and some other states, the number of deaths at non-medical private facilities where private insurance picks up the tab or patients pay in cash is unknown. American Addiction Centers, a national behemoth in the recovery industry, owns Desert Hope, a medical detox facility in Las Vegas which accepts public money and is required to report sentinel events such as deaths to the state. The Current, which is a news outlet, has confirmed 2 deaths at Desert Hope since 2016. And, if we believe the comments above, there's been more. AAC also owns Solutions Recovery, which operates 8 residential treatment facilities, a detox facility, and Resolutions, a sober living facility, all in Las Vegas, and none of which accepts patients covered by Medicaid, Medicare, or other sources of public funding. And this is interesting because, as you can see here, this is from Desert Hope's website, it says that they do accept Medicaid. The Current has identified 4 deaths at those facilities during the time of their investigations. Despite the popularity of Nevada as a destination for those seeking to kick their habits, state law does not require that deaths in such facilities be reported to regulators. So do you see the loophole here? There's a loophole. American Addiction Centers is supposed to report, but in Nevada, they don't have to report. American Addiction Centers has treatment centers all over the U.S., but they have a little loophole in Nevada where they don't need to report death. This article goes on to say, quote, the reason why it wouldn't need to be reported elsewhere is because there's no Chapter 449 regulatory requirement for facilities designated to treat ADAs or facilities that treat the abuse of drugs or alcohol. So there's no requirement for them to report death or any other incident that occurs within the facility with the exception of disasters, including fires. Unquote. This comes from Martha Fremstead, a spokeswoman for the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health. The only way a death at a privately funded non-medical rehab facility is likely to come to the attention of regulators if someone files a complaint. Again, like I said earlier, if no one is advocating for the lives that have been lost, they will not be recognized as anything other than, well, they're an addict. It happens. Allegedly, in my opinion. Quote, While the regulations do not specifically require all facility types to report deaths when they occur within the facility, a complaint is typically how the Bureau of Healthcare Quality and Compliance and the Substance Abuse Prevention Treatment Agency are notified about a death connected to the care at a facility, unquote. Framstead was unable to say how many complaints the state has received involving deaths at rehabs. In the last video that I put out, it was a deep dive into Amanda Rabb's toxicology report, where we looked at synthetic cannabinoids that were found in Amanda Rabb's system. And just in case anybody is thinking, well, that's not really considered a drug necessarily, Desert Hope Treatment Center actually has on their website a protocol for treating people who are addicted to synthetic cannabinoids or spice or K2. So they are very well aware that it is a drug. They are well aware that it is dangerous, and they treat people for this addiction. Yet, somehow, Amanda Rabb was able to get it while in their care. So, riddle me that. Now, there is a way for anyone at that facility to get synthetic cannabinoids because there's a place that's about a mile away within walking distance of Desert Hope. And we know that Amanda Rabb was allowed to be off premises. This right here is the closest head shop near Desert Hope Treatment Center. And they also sell Kratom, another quote-unquote legal high that Desert Hope Treatment Center has a treatment protocol for. I mean, anyone can say, I'm going for a walk, and get their hands on this stuff. If they're not being searched when they get back, then no one's going to know. And the neglect that has been talked about when it comes to Desert Hope Treatment Center, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. What we have learned from these complaints, as well as a lawsuit, and I'm sure there's a lot more, you guys. This is just the tip of the iceberg because there's so many that never got reported. But I don't want to make a 2-hour-long video. We're probably getting close at this point. But what we have learned is people are not monitored very well. Money seems to be more important than health and safety, and they have a treat 'em and street 'em approach, in my opinion. Amanda Rabb is not the only death. My conclusion of what I've learned so far in regards to this video and the prior videos that I've done about Desert Hope Treatment Center is I believe that if all of my findings are accurate, that Amanda Rabb's death could be considered a wrongful death. According to this information here, the top causes for wrongful death in rehabilitation centers are undiagnosed conditions. Drug rehab physicians must conduct an in-depth evaluation of every patient's medical history and current status. If they don't, it could lead to a catastrophic outcome. How many times did we hear that Desert Hope did not have the proper medical records for Amanda Rabb?
Yeah, so the reason that it took so long is because there was a lot of lack of documentation because Amanda was homeless. They believe that it was post-traumatic epilepsy, but they couldn't mark it as post-traumatic epilepsy because of a lack of evidence. So they couldn't tell if the seizures are from past drug use or traumatic brain injury from the assaults, since the assaults were not well documented. And then in brackets, they put police reports or hospital records.
We know that she was possibly diabetic, but she was using a glucometer. I mean, okay, let's just move on. The second one is inadequate monitoring. Some drug rehab patients endure severe and life-threatening withdrawal symptoms. Wrongful death can occur if the facility does not provide emergency medical care in a timely manner. And 3, negligence. Every drug rehabilitation center owes its patients a duty of care. However, they are sometimes understaffed, undertrained, or unprepared. In extreme cases, drug rehab centers are aware of life-threatening conditions but neglect to provide needed care. Now, those are just 3 of some of the causes for a wrongful death lawsuit. I can only imagine that failing to search residents after they have left the facility and then come back would be considered negligence as well. It is the responsibility of an alcohol and drug rehabilitation center to make sure that illicit substances are never in their facility, and that they are also drug testing clients regularly from everything that they themselves, as a treatment center, consider to be addictive substances, including synthetic cannabinoids and Kratom. Desert Hope Treatment Center has protocols to handle both of these addictions. I believe there needs to be somebody else to look over the autopsy of Amanda Rabb. Unfortunately, Amanda was cremated, so there isn't much anyone can do in regards to that. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, hopefully her cremains were actually her, and that Heights Funeral Home was not the company that was responsible for cremating her. But we saw her ashes being dumped on a beach, which is unlawful, especially when you consider there were children that were playing within 10 feet of where they were dumping these ashes. Were they even Amanda Rabb's ashes? I don't know. And I don't just mean because of the Heights Funeral Home thing. I mean, did they just dump regular ashes for show? That probably sounds like a conspiracy theory, but I don't know anymore. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to think, other than I feel Amanda Rabb has been failed by anyone who has ever claimed to help her. And that is my opinion. Desert Hope Treatment Center even has a section on their website talking about serious side effects of gabapentin and long-term effects of gabapentin. Yet they were giving Amanda Rabb gabapentin, and according to her toxicology results, it doesn't even appear that she was taking it. I don't know, you guys. There are so many unanswered questions, and I feel like at this point I'm just jumping around. So I'm going to end this video now, but I want to give you guys a conclusion video, one that makes sense, one that ties it all together. So I'm going to be working on that. I will have it out as soon as I can. If you want to check out any of my other videos in the meantime, please feel free. I have tons of them. I've been putting videos out for a long time. So you can take a look at those in the meantime, and I will see you guys on the next one. Please be healthy, be safe, be happy, and most of all, be unapologetically you. Bye-bye.